Hi there, welcome back. Alright, so we really need to talk about Half-Life's weaponry. Oh my gosh. Half-Life is an incredible game. I really think it is. I have a lot of fun playing it. I've played the first Half-Life a lot. I'm about to beat it. I've beat all of the Half-Life 2 stuff except Chapter 2. I'm like almost done. Don't leave me alone about it. I played a ton of Half-Life and I played a ton of Valve games, and that means I've played a lot around with all of the gameplay and physics that those games have to offer. But there's a big thing that is very important to me in first-person action games and first-person shooters in general, is the quality of the weaponry. The weapons are just something that are absolutely crucial when it comes to making a game of any type that's going to have any kinds of weaponry. And there are some great examples of this. Games like Halo or Fortnite or Skyrim even have really great balanced weaponry that all have and serve their own purpose, and all of them make sense, even if some of them are entirely and overly outlandish. So, what's wrong with Half-Life's weaponry? Well, first off, Half-Life is one of the first games in its time to have mildly realistic weaponry. But also it's not. Half-Life and also Valve weaponry just really doesn't make a lot of sense a lot of times in terms of practicality and just in terms of, does that make sense to go on a weapon? So today we're going to be looking at Half-Life's incredibly stupid, incredibly zany weaponry, and I'm going to be pointing out some problems I have with it, and hopefully Valve will learn in the future not to make such dumb mistakes ever again. Alright, we're going to start off with Half-Life 1, and we're not going to be doing Half-Life Alyx today. We're sticking with Half-Life 1, its expansions, and Half-Life 2 in its 2 chapters. I'm not going to be doing Half-Life Alyx, and if you want to see more Valve weaponry that I have a problem with, because trust me, there's a lot I have a problem with Valve weaponry, then please, like and subscribe to this video. But let's get into it. Let's start off with the pistol from Half-Life 1. The pistol, it's interesting. It's either a really useful weapon or either totally useless and makes me never want to use it again. It's based off of a Glock 17, and this weapon is okay, it's modeled well. It definitely looks like a Glock, and for the time, that's pretty realistic. The only problem is this gun's fire modes is just absolutely ridiculous. So, holding down the left click or trigger, depending on if you're playing on PC or PlayStation 2, you will have your pistol fully auto, mostly. It's like a semi-automatic pistol. Holding down the trigger causes it to continuously fire without you having to lift and then repress your finger on the trigger. That's interesting because Glock 17s don't come fully auto by base unless you're like a special military operative. Which you're not really, they're mostly security guards. So you get your gun off a security guard, and Gordon Freeman is not really a specialized military personnel. And as most Half-Life weapons do, they have a secondary fire mode, where if you press right click, something else will happen. This causes the weapon to shoot in full auto, completely, with an increased spread and increased fire rate. I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. First off, Glock 17s aren't supposed to be fully auto by default. They're not supposed to come that way manufactured. They have to have something done to the weapon to make that happen. These are not military personnel. I've looked it up. Usually only like the military gets full auto Glock 17s, like very specialized people. I think it's illegal to have a full auto Glock 17 in certain places. For some reason, these security guards are carrying them around. Now, I chose the pistol to start with, not only because it's the most simple weapon, but also because it's the most simple in its problems. The other weapons tend to get way more and way up and higher in their ridiculousness of their problems. And the pistol in Half-Life 1 just is absolutely ridiculous. But let's move on to the pistol in Half-Life 2, the 9mm pistol in Half-Life 2. So the USP in Half-Life, which I'm calling a USP, it's actually supposed to be a USP match or something. In Half-Life 2, that's what the pistol is based off of, and this one actually has less problems than it does in its Half-Life 1 counterpart. Number one, the model is very high quality and very realistic and pretty accurate to what you see in real life. Here's an image of the pistol itself. Then there's the Half-Life 2 image, and you'll see that they're very accurate. There's another problem, though, is that holding down your fire button causes the pistol to shoot continually. I do not think this pistol is supposed to be fully auto. I've tried looking it up. It doesn't say. So it's not supposed to be full auto. I don't know why it is when you hold down the trigger. Apart from that, I think the pistol is fine. I think the recoil's a little off, because your hand seems to fly back a lot from using it, but I don't know. I guess if the pistol is 45, it's going to be a lot bigger. But whatever. So the pistol here in Half-Life 2, I don't have much to say about it. It's alright. It's decent pistol. It makes sense for the time. It works. It's accurate, and it doesn't have any ridiculous fire modes that you need to worry about. So that one's good. So instead of worrying about the pistols, because I don't want to talk about them anymore, they're extremely boring, let's go over to the SMG. The SMG has gone through some variations in the Half-Life series. It's not like the most complicated weapon. In the first game it was actually an MP5, and then in the second game it was like an MP7. But let's go over the first one, because it's a completely different weapon than the one in the other one. Okay, so, the MP5 in Half-Life 1. It's fine. It's a basic MP5 assault rifle with a under-barrel grenade launcher, and its spread is pretty significant. You have to burst your shots, and it's not super complicated. This one doesn't have too many problems. It's the one in Half-Life 2 that starts having the problems. But I have nothing much wrong with the SMG in Half-Life 1. It's very simple. The model is very realistic, and the sound effects and the reload animation are fine. And the weapon is a good, reliable gun, and it's definitely better than the pistol. The grenade launcher I definitely think is a little bit of a stretch. It is very big and looks like it kind of just hangs off of the weapon. It's very possible in real life to use, but probably not very practical. And it gets even more impractical when you look at Half-Life 2. But before we do that, there's actually another version of the SMG in Half-Life 1, and that's the updated graphics SMG. So in case you didn't know, in the newer versions of Half-Life 1, at least if you buy them on Steam, you have the possibility to turn on updated graphics. These updated graphics are just updated weapon models and textures that were used in the PS2 version of Half-Life 1. And the SMG is now an M16 or an M4 assault rifle. It is no longer an SMG. I definitely think this was a better choice made by Valve, because this makes more sense to have the underbarrel mounted grenade launcher, as well as the loud sound that the rifle makes, as well as the sheer recoil of this weapon. I think it just made sense to have it as an assault rifle rather than an MP5, something smaller like a submachine gun. It is still called a submachine gun, and it is a completely different weapon, but I definitely think that works a little better, so there's less problems I have with that than I did with the previous one. Now, let's look at Half-Life 2, because Half-Life 2, it gets even stupider, and it's ridiculous. This weapon actually makes me mad. SMG-1 and the SMG, also known as the SMG-1 in Half-Life 2, is a real-world recreation of the MP7. Real-world? It's a recreation of the real-world gun, the MP7. And the MP7 is a pretty iconic weapon. There's a lot of people that know it. I think it's been used in a lot of movies, and it's a, go-to weapon for players in Half-Life 2. And it's fairly reliable. It has a larger spread than the pistol, but it's still contained. It works good at close to mid-ranges. It's just a nice weapon. But this gun's model, its features, its everything just make me so incredibly mad. Number one, the model boasts a large ACOG scope on the top of the weapon that cannot be used. There is a zoom capability in Half-Life 2, but you cannot zoom with any other weapon and actually fire it except for the crossbow, which actually has a sniper scope on the top of it, which we'll get to that pretty soon also. But for some reason, the SMG has this tactical ACOG scope on the top of it that is entirely unusable because you're using the basic reticle. And this was 2004, and it was getting around to the point where Call of Duty was starting to introduce the aim-down sights mechanic, and a lot of other companies like that, including id Software with Quake 4, started having guns that had zoom-in scopes and stuff, all that kind of stuff. But for some reason, the SMG in this has this stupid sight on the top that makes me mad, because I wish I could aim down it, but you can't. You can't. It's just there, and you can't do anything with it. So yeah, for some reason, this stupid scope is on the front. And this SMG also has the underbarrel grenade launcher that the previous SMG does, except for one big problem. The MP7 is a very small SMG compared to the MP5. It's more of like a handheld machine pistol than anything, and there's no physical way you can put a grenade launcher on the underbarrel of that, but somehow Valve managed. The grenades are big. They're like that big, including if I freeze up this here real quick for you of this footage of Half-Life 2, you can see how big the grenades are compared to the barrel of the width of the barrel on this thing. So there is no way you're shooting that big of a grenade launcher out of that small a barrel. That's ridiculous. But for some reason, Valve managed to do it, and this MP7 launches a grenade out of it. So not only would a normal grenade launcher like this not fit on this, but it would also probably fly out of your hands if you tried to launch a grenade that size out of a gun that small. And this gun has no grenade launcher. Looking on the front of the weapon, there is no grenade launcher. There is nothing. There is another barrel underneath the main barrel, but it doesn't even look like a barrel. It's probably just some kind of chamber or something because it doesn't have a hole on it. And the grenade that launches out is too big to come out of that barrel on the bottom. I don't know how Valve managed to make sense that, yeah, that's going to launch out of that, but it does somehow. I don't know why, I don't know how. It's very ridiculous, and the fact that this grenade launches out of that is ridiculous. But there is no other barrel, there's no other, like, reciprocal, and the gun does not have any sort of capacity to hold a grenade that big. But for some reason, it does. And that's enough about the SMGs, because that one makes me mad. But we have another gun that somehow launches something out of a barrel that doesn't exist, and that's the shotgun. The shotgun actually didn't change much from Half-Life 1 than it did in Half-Life 2. The shotgun is based off of an SPAS shotgun. It's a very recognizable weapon. It's used in a lot of other it's used in a lot of other games and movies, and it's just, you know, a decent weapon. And excuse me. And in Half-Life 1, it's a very, like, cartoony, almost sci-fi model. It's not super realistic compared to the other ones. It's got a lot of lights and bits and bobs on it that don't make much sense. But apart from that, the model is mostly faithful to the original. And it has this weird feature where its secondary fire mode launches two shells at once. Shoots two shells at once out of two barrels. So you have your first barrel that shoots out one shell, and then you have the other one that shoots two shells for some reason. But looking on the gun's actual model, there is no secondary barrel. There is just the ammo tube that you load the shells into. Same thing for Half-Life 2, as in Half-Life 2 you have this same shotgun, and it does look way more realistic, and this is one of the best models of the SPAS I've seen in a video game, but for some reason, this double barrel shot thing comes back once again. I don't know why they didn't just bother putting in something like a double barrel shotgun as the weapon, but I guess they wanted to stick with that more tactical feel and look to all the weapons, so they went with this more realistic one, but kept this weird double barrel attachment. I don't know why it does this. There is no second barrel on the front of this gun, even looking in the model. And I'm not just saying that, like, even looking directly at the model that Valve used, there is no secondary barrel. So unless the shell is shooting two shells out of the first barrel, which honestly sounds physically impossible, then I don't think this weapon is that actually realistic or in any way practical. I don't know what Valve was thinking by doing that, especially the SMG, because it doesn't make any sense to have it shoot out like that, and there's no second barrel for some reason. They just have a secondary barrel fire that does double damage, which I'm grateful for because it's helped me kill a lot of zombies and a lot of those super aggravating Combine shotgun soldiers, but it doesn't make that much sense to have it there. And to me, it's just very, like, unnecessary, and they could have just redesigned the weapon in some way to give it that. I mean, Valve is no stranger to taking a weapon that already exists and completely butchering it, but for some reason, they decided to do this. I don't know why. You can ask them yourself. I'll never know. Okay, I guess we should move on to everyone's favorite weapon in the game, the crowbar. Now, there's no arguing and saying that Half-Life is made iconic by its iconic crowbar. I mean, it's obvious. The crowbar is one of the most iconic weapons in video game history because of Half-Life. I mean, every time you see a crowbar in a game, there's an obvious urge to pick it up and start swinging at stuff because of Half-Life letting you do that anyway. So there's not much wrong with Half-Life's crowbar. I'm not going to stay on it for too long because that's literally it. It doesn't have a secondary fire mode that launches grenade launchers. It's just a crowbar that you just hit things with. And it's obviously very iconic. Crowbar, good job. You're the best weapon in all of Half-Life. But let's move on to the crossbow, which has had two different iterations in the Half-Life series, including the Half-Life 1 crossbow and the Half-Life 2 crossbow. The Half-Life 1 crossbow is a very strange weapon to me. It's a magazine-fed tranquilizer dart crossbow that has the slowest reload animation of anything, yet somehow is the most overpowered weapon in the whole game. I've used this weapon so much against so many things, and if you want to see the video about me ranting about how much I really don't like parts of Half-Life 2, then also, please like and subscribe, because I'm going to make that video, and you're going to get mad at me for not liking Half-Life 1 that much. But we're not going to stay on that. Here's a picture of it. Yeah, its secondary fire mode is not a fire mode at all. It just allows you to zoom in a little further than you normally would to get some better range with the thing. It's got these stupid tranq darts that really work good against certain enemies and don't work great against others, but it'll completely incapacitate an enemy if you pump enough of them into it. This weapon is strange. It's a magazine-fed thing. I don't know how you get magazine-fed dart things, but they're clearly exposed. The whole thing looks like it's held together with rubber bands and bubble gum. And apart from that, I don't really care that much for the weapon, but I do care a lot about the one in Half-Life 2. The Half-Life 2 one is just better in every way. Everything from its iconic sound design, to the reload animation, to the literal heated pieces of rebar it shoots out of its face. This thing is incredible, and it's an iconic weapon, and it's a deadly weapon. Imagine getting impaled to a wall with a heated piece of building material that some random scientist who's never held a gun in his life in a bright orange Fanta colored suit just launches at you from 10 feet away. All of a sudden you're dead and your insides are burning because you're stuck to a wall with that. It's pretty terrifying, and this weapon is not one I'd want to see get shot at me in real life, and I really hope someone hasn't already made it in real life. But, yeah, it's a fairly iconic weapon. There's not much I have to say about it. Obviously, this is probably a very hard thing, and probably not very practical in real life. I'm mainly harping on the main weapons that are real weapons in real life that make no sense whatsoever. Because I think it's universally known that Valve just doesn't know how to design weapons at all. But in terms of this one, I like this one, and I'm not going to say any more bad stuff about this one, because I like it. But let's move on to some more crazy, experimental, fictional, and alien weaponry used in the Half-Life series before we go on to any more of the other human weapons. Starting off with the Gluon gun. This is a backpack-attached, glorified vacuum cleaner leaf blower thing that shoots out a big row of toothpaste that will incinerate enemies into little bits. This thing I kind of hate. This thing's ammo capacity is completely garbage. Its sound is pretty cool, and the things it shoots out is pretty interesting, but just compared to what it's trying to be, the lightning gun from Quake, I just don't think this thing is that great. It definitely works better against larger enemies, but with the ammo amount, you just really gotta be careful to make sure not to use it that much. It's a cool gun, but in terms of its design, I don't really care, and the sound, while it's pretty iconic, and the name Gluon Gun, I see why it didn't come back in Half-Life 2. It doesn't really give that much to the rest of the game. Doesn't really wouldn't really work that great in multiplayer, and just doesn't contribute anything to the story in Half-Life 2. So, yeah, there it is, Gluon Gun, whatever. And this other thing, I have to get out my phone to look at a picture of it, because its name is so completely forgettable that I completely forgot the name of it. Let's look at this thing together, shall we? Right. The Tau Cannon. The Tau Cannon is a very interesting gun. I really don't know what they were trying to do. I definitely think this was like the precursor to the railgun in Quake 3. Just like really, really bad. Its reload animation is pretty interesting. It's got this little spinning magazine on the top, and its chrome-tipped barrel is also fairly interesting. But it's just a very strange gun. It doesn't really do much. It kind of just shoots out these yellow lasers that can bounce off of walls and hit enemies, but trying to ricochet those off the walls to actually hit something is a complete nightmare. You're mainly going to be running around chasing your enemy around, shooting at them until they die. And killing something with this thing just feels like garbage, when you could rather just use the Gluon gun, which doesn't really work that great anyway, but it works better than the Tau Cannon. Tau Cannon is interesting. I don't think it's a terrible weapon, I just don't think it's that great either, and I see why it also didn't come back in Half-Life 2, because it just wouldn't have contributed much and probably was going to be hard to get to work in the source engine, especially because this weapon is just absolute dog trash. Yeah, I don't really care for this gun. It's not that interesting of a weapon. It's just there, and yeah, there is a little fun fact. The physics gun in Gary's mod uses the Tau Cannon's Half-Life 1 sprite that goes on the weapon picker. So there's that for you. But yeah, apart from that, I don't really care. It's there, and good job, Valve. You made two garbage weapons that use the same type of ammo. Now let's look at the Hive Hand. This gun, I have a love-hate relationship with. The Hive Hand is this big alien arm that you can pick up from killing these really big armored guys that I don't know the name of. But it shoots these little darts that act like little bugs that will go around and spin and track enemies. Like, it'll follow an enemy, sort of like a Needler in Halo, where it will go around corners to hit enemies, or upwards or downwards. And it has infinite ammo that recharges over time. You get about 8 of these little darts. And the problem I have with this thing is not only its ear-piercing sound design. I mean, this thing literally makes my ears hurt every time I fire it. But it's just very strange design. I mean, an alien weapon that's part of an alien's body is cool. but it's very just lumpy and gross looking design is something that might put a couple people off. I find the weapon to be pretty cool looking, but I don't know, something about it I just think would gross people out, especially probably if you were playing this game when it first came out. There's probably never been anything like an alien weapon that you physically pulled off of something. But the weapon doesn't really do that much damage, and it doesn't do that much in general, unless you're going to be using it to shoot head crabs, then I don't really think it's going to do that much. The Hive Hand is interesting. It kind of sucks in multiplayer. I've been playing a lot of Half-Life Source multiplayer, so I know what I'm talking about. But this gun is just stupid. I don't care for it that much. It's cool enough, the design and the name of it, but its sound design is just so bad, and then the weapon just doesn't do what it needs to do, so I don't care for this weapon that much. And I guess we'll look at the disposable weapons too. We got things like snarks, deployable mines, grenades, and satchel charges. These I don't have much problem with. The trip mines are cool. The snarks don't really do that much. I don't really like them that much. The hand grenades do what they're supposed to do. You throw them and they blow up. And of course the satchel charges are satchel charges. But let's look at the Half-Life 2 deployable equipment real quick before we go into any more of the weird Half-Life 1 alien weapons. Starting off with the grenade. The hand grenade in this game. It kinda is ridiculous. The MK3 something grenade, it's got a weird name, from Half-Life 2 is fine. It does what it's supposed to do. It's a very bouncy grenade that when throws has this blinking timer, and then it pops and kills multiple enemies in its blast radius. Only problem is that this thing's pull-out animation, the animation it makes when you pull it out, has Gordon Freeman pulling out the pin. That's a big problem. If you pull out the pin, the grenade's gonna explode. And no matter how long you sit there, the grenade doesn't explode. And then, if you put the weapon away because you changed your mind, you didn't want to throw a grenade, you just ram it back in your booty, or wherever Half-Life man puts his weaponry, it doesn't blow up. You can't just put a pin back in a grenade to defuse it. Actually, I should look that up. Maybe I'm wrong, but that seems like... Yeah, you can't really put the grenade pin back in. There is a way to do it. Some newer grenade models do have the ability to put the pin back in to defuse the grenade, as long as the thing that you pulled it out from, isn't damaged. But I'm guessing that, as fast as Gordon Freeman is pulling these things out and putting them back in, he doesn't have the time to put the pin back in every grenade, and if he does, it's probably not carefully. Yeah, he pulls the pin out every single time, and I'm guessing sticks it back in, and I'm surprised that he hasn't gotten himself blown sky high after doing that so many times. I don't know why he pulls the pin out every single time. It's bothered me since I first started playing the game, but I'll watch him pull out the grenade, pull the pin out, and then if I switch weapons, it's just gone, and then I guess the pin's back in the grenade for some reason. I don't know. I don't know why he does the things he does, Mr. Freeman. I don't know why you do the things you do, Mr. Freeman, but I don't think it's really time for a heart-to-heart. It's time for you to choose. I'm going to stop doing that. I'm never going to do that again. It's going to happen a lot of times. I know it is. It's going to happen. Okay, let's just get the big one out of the way. The gravity gun. Again, I don't have much problem with this. It's a very iconic weapon. Its sounds are iconic, and the use of it is pretty cool. The gravity gun is an A+ weapon. I'm not going to tell anything about that gun. Whatever. It's good. Next, let's talk about the AR-2 from Half-Life 2, and then we'll finish out all those Half-Life 1 weapons. Oh boy, the AR-2 is another just hate-love relationship weapon, because it doesn't make that much sense. The AR-2 is interesting. It's an assault rifle designed by the Combine that shoots these large Combine ball things that bounce around and will disintegrate enemies if they hit them, and it shoots some very interesting Combine ammo. There's not much I have wrong with the design of the weapon. I do think it's a little boring looking, but that's the only problem I have with it. And the grenade launching aspect of it actually works better than the SMG. The only problem is its weird reload animation. It uses these Combine cell things, and it's in this pre-built magazine that reloads the weapon itself. And it will constantly reload this weapon, but there's you can't remove the magazine. The ammo pickup is a magazine, but the magazine never gets removed. It kind of is just like that, even though every other gun has a reload animation and a clear area of where the gun is supposed to be reloaded from. Except every time you pick up ammo for the AR-2, it kind of just self-reloads itself whenever it wants to, and it doesn't really matter whether or not you have a magazine or not, whether or not you need to swap out the previous empty one with a new one. I don't know why it's like that, but it is. It doesn't make that much sense. I also know why it's called an AR-2. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But the AR-2 is weird. It works enough. It doesn't have that great in terms of ammo, but it's fine. It's fine. Just, I don't understand the reload mechanic of it. I'm also just now finding out it was also called a Colt Python in Half-Life 1, as well as a 357 Magnum for some reason, so there you go. Yes, I will put up some pictures of certain weapons here so you can see what they look like, because certain weapons just look absolutely ridiculous. I don't know why some of them have such different models. It could have been some of them were in beta stages, and then Valve just ended up changing them last minute. I'll never know. I just know that a lot of its weaponry is really dumb. A lot of it doesn't make sense. And some of it does make sense, but the ones that do make sense, well, they still got their problems. But the big three I wanted to talk about were the shotgun, the pistol, the SMG, and then those stupid alien weapons. Especially the SMG. I don't know what they're trying to do, but that does not shoot grenades. Look at it. It doesn't. Look at the size of the grenade it shoots. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this. Thank you so much for sitting here and tolerating me blabbing about Half-Life weaponry for however many minutes. 31 minutes. But yes, thank you so much for watching. And if you would like to see more content about video games, there's my channel. There's a button down below. If you click it, you will subscribe to me. And if you keep subscribing, everyone who's watching, soon I will be able to make money. And then when I make money, maybe the video's quality will go up. I mean, I don't really need that much money, but you know, it helps to know that people like my videos. Please put down some suggestions for things you want me to talk about in the comments, and if you really want to see me talk about all of the Valve weaponry, because I just did this video as a little precursor to that, but I want to talk about so much more. Because there's a lot of stupid Valve weapons, I will definitely do that. But yes, if you want to see more video game content, go to my channel. I play games on my channel, and I will do more commentary about video game stuff. So, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to sign off, and I'll see you all in the next video that I do. Bye-bye.